What's up, YouTube? We are here for another sit-down video. This topic is going to be about the creative journey and being on that creative journey as a Black creative. We have a unique experience just being on this journey myself, understanding the process of being a woman in a field that is also male-dominated, but a Black woman at that, and just the height of the world right now, you know, with just the elections and everything. I think it's like really important for people in their fields that have some type of influence to talk about the realness of being in the world and looking like you look and walking that path. A little backstory on me, if you don't know, I am originally from Detroit, but I've also lived in Chicago, Midwest baby for sure, and now I live in LA. My focus in LA is commercial beauty and hair, but I shoot a mixture of everything. I've done e-commerce. I also have a gallery exhibition, which I have on display actually at Hilltop Coffee Shop, based in Inglewood, Los Angeles. I'm a bit of a multi-dimensional person, but my career focus mostly is beauty and hair and commercial photography. So I just want to talk about, honestly, like the importance of embracing your identity as a Black creative, because one of the main things that I see and I think is important to us is to own our story, but also embrace the fact that we have multiple different stories. It's so many different type of Black people and just like overall Black stories, and I think embracing that brings in authenticity, and it also shares a new perspective of Black culture in its entirety. My show Sankofa that was recently on display last year kind of dove into that, just the connection of Black women, but also the connection of how it's just so complex. There's so many different complexities within that, and I think sharing those different topics and expressing those different nuances that we all share is very important to kind of like dive into when it comes to being a Black creative and sharing your own unique story. It doesn't have to be anything that's, you know, something foreign to you, especially a Black creative, or just things that represent who you are and your identity, the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever you want to showcase. Because the power of representation ultimately is what helps the next creative understand and see what they can be. I remember being a young creative from Detroit, and I left Detroit at like 18. I haven't been living in Detroit for like 10 years, but I remember wanting to see more people doing what I was doing, because seeing an example of that allowed me to envision myself in that world. One of my favorite movies is Love Jones, and it's because of the representation of a Black woman photographer in the movie, falling in love, but also having a career. And I think being young and being inspired by that makes it a possible avenue for you. That's why representation matters. So I think Black creatives, I think along the path that you run into is building confidence, and this is something that took a lot longer than I thought it would as a Black creative, because I think we come with a lot more complexities than others. A lot of things that I've met as being a Black woman that's a photographer, I know exactly what I'm doing, but sometimes you'll find people undermining the things that I don't know. And, you know, playing with that psychological game. And I think it's something now that I see, and I'm kind of just like, you know, I understand how to address it moving forward, but it is something that we definitely battle with a lot more. And sometimes you even battle with this not only in spaces that don't look like you, but also spaces that look familiar to you. Sometimes people don't even understand how they do this to somebody that looks like themselves. So building confidence and overcoming the self-doubt, overcoming the imposter syndrome, a lot of that came with me reflecting on myself. Also, always going back every once in a while, whether it's every 6 months or every 3 months if I need it, if it's a harder year. But remembering what I do, I think especially when I go through my website and I update my website is when I realize, okay, you're on your PQ. Like, you're continuously going, you're showing up, you're trying to evolve in a world where sometimes as a Black creative it can feel very constrained. It could feel like you are not getting any opportunities, or you are getting opportunities, but the opportunity is draining the life force out of you. So it's really good to reassure yourself and find ways to help with that reassurance. Also, sometimes it has nothing to do with actually working. Sometimes that confidence building could be you going to the gym every day, going on a walk every day, finding ways to be alone with yourself and understanding your inner dialogue more. Also, celebrate the small wins. Sometimes I think we forget that the small things also matter, not just the big shoot that you got that is with somebody that's well known, not the brand deal that you got. Maybe sometimes it's just about you getting the edits done out for the week on time, or maybe you finally went and got your camera sensor cleaned, and that's something that you can really celebrate, because those things really are also a part of moving forward and having confidence and having faith in showing up and being able to sing along the path of the creative journey. That is very important, and that is, I would say, different for Black creatives. It's going to be community and network. So I think this can be in nuances and divided into different categories. So we have our community within our field, our line of work, so organizations that you continuously work with, whether that be through mentorship or whether that be through you just maybe do an interview with them every now and again. Maybe this is a platform that you utilize to reel in clients, or this is something that is more in the corporate space. But I would start, if I was to go back in time, I would start to correlate the different communities and categorizing them. So this is more in the mentorship way of, giving back to my community, or this is more in the sense of I show up and I'm actually doing something that is environmentally friendly. For example, I have clients or companies that I work with that are specifically good for the community. So they're either plant-based, or they are companies that really put thought into how they create what their product is. That would be a community category. And then there's just community in general, that is just being a creative community. And that's going to an event in your city that has the people that think like you, the people that look like you, and they embrace what the culture is, what creativity is. I think it's important to be amongst that as often as you can. That's also just being in a studio. That's just getting people together to create. And it doesn't have to be this grandiose thing. It could be just let's get together, let's create something, let's keep our creativity. Networking. Now, I live in LA, and networking is, I don't know if it's frowned upon, but it's kind of is it genuine? And I think when it's organic networking is cool. Like I recently just went to LA Fashion Week and I met a few designers, and it was a very organic exchange. And I think when you're in a room or a setting where it makes sense and it feels genuine, I think the thing that makes networking not feel so good is when you feel like you have to get something out of people. And what I've learned along my path is just to speak to people and connect to them in a way that you will want somebody to connect to you. Like, get to know people, get to know their story, get to know why they do the work that they do, their influence, what inspires them. Like, I think over time we have gotten to a point where people kind of do this exchange where it's like, what can I get out of you type of thing. And I think we've kind of lost the art of being in the networking space where it's just open and it's just like about you showing up and being who you are, and me trying to learn more about that and learning about people's stories. And it doesn't have to be this like networking or like working exchange after. It could be literally just connection. Just connection and understanding that person and why they do what they do. Now let's talk about overcoming challenges. So a few like systematic barriers that I think all Black creative space is opportunity. Opportunity to create in general. And just opportunity, not only with, I'm going to give you this opportunity at this time of the year, I'm going to give you this opportunity because budgets are closing. It's like, it's opportunity, and it's just a consistent thing. I'm only working with this person or offering this opportunity because it looks good during this time, or it looks good for this brand. And I think every Black creative faces this on their path at some point. I also think that we face, like a lot of people don't talk about it, but the financial aspect of creating and the differences between who's making what, and even asking for more. I remember early on in my career, a mentor of my own mentioned to always ask for the most, because you'll only have one time to kind of stay your rate, or people will kind of like put you in this box of what how much you cost and how much you normally rate people as, which I think is harder when you are on the climb and you are a young photographer. Say you're like 20 years old and you ask for $5,000 for a shoot, but then you get to your mid-30s and you're needing a larger budget, obviously, because budgets go higher and higher, and people look at you like you're crazy. I don't think that's a fair way, and especially when you're a Black creative, people will look at you like you're crazy if you ask for anything. Talking about these struggles with other people in your community is important as well, just to let you know that you're not crazy. You're not crazy for asking for what you want, what your worth is. Also, getting in spaces that support your growth, support seeing you want to get to that next level and expand. I personally have overcome many challenges of like asking for my worth, or just not knowing my value and still having to kind of stick with something that I knew wasn't right. And I think what I've learned from that perspective is just like, it is going to be some clients out there that aren't willing to do certain things, but it is always going to be somebody else that is willing to pay you your worth, that is willing to work with you in a way that is of industry standard at the end of the day. And it's not even about being perfect. It's about just treating you yourself as a business, as a Black creative, and not really getting too involved in the politics of it. always be expanding your skills. Always be expanding your skills. So, like, now I think the more important thing to do is kind of like when things come up, like for example, like AI kind of like came into the industry and everybody's like, oh my God. But I think instead of, oh my God, having this like outrage, I think it is very important to explore these things that are new and see how they can fit into your workload and tools as it can help you. ChatGPT, now everybody is loving it, but when it first came out, it was like everyone was afraid of it. So it's like, don't be afraid to step outside of the box and, you know, tinker with things, experiment with things, try new different skills. Like, I think as a young creative, that's what got me to the next thing. Like when I was 20, I remember like editing on a laptop in a coffee shop in Chicago, and I don't have to do that anymore. I have retouchers. It's just like you evolve as you go, and it's like, yes, you have like certain points in your journey where you are in a specific energy, but you have to always be finding more efficient ways to work, more efficient ways to evolve as an artist, especially if you want to grow. Because the bigger the opportunity, the more expansive it is, the more support you're probably going to need to maintain it. The next thing along the path of being a creative on this journey would be building your platforms. And a lot of people are very iffy about social media, but I personally have been very blessed in the social media space to have collaborated with so many brands along the way, but also connect with a lot of different creatives along the process. And I think if done in a very healthy way, social media can be an asset and a tool and something that also helps you expand your skills along your journey. A few of the things or social sites that I believe that are the strongest, one being YouTube, I would say Instagram, offhands, and I've been honestly toying around with TikTok, and I can honestly say I'm one of them people that did not have any faith in TikTok. I had no faith. I was like, this is too fast, it's too weird, it's Gen Z. But I am a big fan of TikTok now, and I completely understand like the space that it is. I honestly don't even do the same type of content on TikTok that I do on my YouTube or my Instagram. I'm more into astrology over there, and I think maybe that's why I like it, because it's an avenue for something different. But I do think that these platforms make it easier for representation for Black creatives. Like, I have gotten so many opportunities. I've worked with YouTube, I've worked with different brands because of Instagram, I've worked with different companies because of Pinterest. Like, they'll just find my photography on Pinterest. So I think these social platforms definitely serve a purpose, and I would never hold back at using them in the way that serves you. I think that is the keynote to using social media. Use the tool. Only using the tool for like personal gain, but also to inspire others. Making videos that people can connect to that will help them along their personal journey. And with that comes sharing your own authentic story. Creation is cool. I think in the midst of creating, I think it all serves a purpose. It's just how you choose to deliver it. And it can inspire anybody. You could be doing makeup and having a talk, a story time, and that can be inspiring somebody. So it's really about how you utilize the tool. This video was just a sit down to reconnect with y'all about what it means to be a creative, a Black creative, but also how to embrace your journey, different ways to reflect on your journey, different ways to make sure that you're staying afloat on this journey. These are just things that I honestly go through every 6 months, I would say. And reflecting, but then, keeping up on your skills, connecting. All of these things are something you can focus on along your journey, whether you're at the point of networking or you've already been through that phase. Um, I think each one of these brackets or phases is what molds like mastering your gaze, mastering your own unique success, and mastering your own personal journey to it. So, and it's really no destination. It's kind of like this ongoing thing. That's all I have for you guys today. I'm going to be back with more videos, definitely more sit down conversations, diving a bit deeper into creativity, being a woman in the creative space, and we're going to be talking about more. So continue to master your gaze. Y'all know the mother drill.